Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are diving headfirst into something huge happening in global manufacturing right now. We're talking about China's absolutely massive push into automation. Let's get right into it. Okay, just look at this number for a second. 295,000. That's how many new industrial robots Chinese factories installed just in 2024. Now, that's already a huge number, right? But it's the context here that is absolutely wild. Because get this, that one number, it's more than the rest of the entire world combined. I mean, let that sink in. This isn't just a little bit of growth. No, what we're witnessing here is a historic shift on a scale we have literally never seen before. So, to put it in another way, think about it like this. For every 2 new industrial robots that were powered up anywhere on Earth last year, one of them was in China. That's right. China is now responsible for more than half of all new robot installations on the planet. This is completely redrawing the map of global manufacturing. Okay, so that brings us to our first big question. How in the world did this happen? How did China go from being known as the world's factory to becoming the world's most automated factory? You know, one of the key stats to watch here is something called robot density. And as you can see, China has now officially blown past the old-school manufacturing powerhouses like Germany and Japan. We're talking 470 robots for every 10,000 human workers, and they are not slowing down. The goal is to hit 500 by the end of this year. Just incredible. And this boom has led to a really interesting power shift. Check this out. For the very first time, China's own robot companies are outselling the big foreign giants on their own home turf. I mean, they went from having just about a quarter of the market to now owning a massive 57% of it. That's a huge leap. So what does all this automation actually look like in a real factory? Well, in its most advanced form, you get something called a dark factory. Yeah, dark factories. They're called that because, well, they can literally run with the lights off. Why? Because there are hardly any people inside. Almost all the work, it's done by machines. Let's look at a real-world example. Xiaomi's big smartphone factory in Beijing. Inside, you've got AI-driven robots that are building a brand new phone every 3 seconds. And the system is so smart, it actually finds and fixes its own mistakes. A human being only needs to check in on things maybe once every 30 minutes. That's it. And it's not just small stuff like phones either. Take a look at Baidu's giant electric car plant in Xi'an. That assembly line is 97% automated. Almost the entire thing is run by robots. But okay, this whole revolution isn't just about robotic arms on an assembly line. Nope. The next phase is starting to look a lot more like us. So just last year, Chinese companies started mass-producing humanoid robots. On one side, you've got the Unitree G1. It costs only $16,000 and it can do a world record standing jump. Pretty wild. And then on the other side, you've got Tesla's Optimus, which is, still in the prototype stage, so the race is definitely on. And make no mistake, these aren't just fancy prototypes sitting in a lab. Companies like Tech are already putting humanoids to work in car factories. And these things can work around the clock, 24/7, because get this, when their battery gets low, they just walk over to a station and swap it all themselves. And this isn't some small niche experiment. We're talking big money here. Car companies are already placing orders worth billions, and the whole humanoid robot market in China is expected to hit a staggering $46 billion by 2031. But of course, this kind of incredible speed and scale, it doesn't come without some really big, complicated consequences. And that goes for both people and, global politics. Just think about this number for a moment. Researchers estimate that up to 278 million workers in China, that's everyone from people on the assembly line to folks in logistics, are in jobs that are at high risk of being automated away. That's a whopping 77% of the entire workforce. So this obviously raises a massive question, right? What happens to the future of work for hundreds of millions of people? Where do they go from here? Well, the response has been this enormous nationwide push to retrain the workforce. The government has kicked off what's being called the most ambitious job training program in world history. The whole goal is to give millions of people the new skills they'll need to actually design, run, and fix all these new automated systems. Meanwhile, all of this is happening right in the middle of a huge geopolitical showdown. The US has been ramping up its efforts to slow China down, putting more and more restrictions on tech exports. As you can see on this timeline, it's an escalating pattern. They're targeting everything from advanced AI chips to the companies that build them, all in an effort to keep that technological lead. But even with these huge challenges, both at home and from abroad, China is absolutely doubling down on its vision for an automated future. So you might be asking, why push so hard? Well, it's about more than just making things faster. This automation push is paying off in other really important ways. For one, it's making factories way safer, dramatically cutting down on workplace accidents. And it's also better for the environment, reducing carbon emissions. And that really gets to the long-term vision here. The end game for China isn't just to use more robots than anyone else. No. The real goal is to become the place that invents the next generation of robots for the rest of the world. So all of this leaves us with one final really big question. Because this transformation isn't some far-off science fiction thing, it is happening today. As these factories of the future are being built, we all have to wonder, is this a shared opportunity for everyone, or is it a new global threat?